Right, so in this video, we're just going to talk about disability practice. So how we support people with disability in the community, especially people who are social workers and human service workers might be interested in a lot of the information that we cover here today. What we need to be aware of is that beyond just disability, things like inequality and exclusion, they happen across all areas of human existence. So when people have poor health, this is going to be even worse if you have a disability. We also know people with a disability are more excluded, lower levels of participation, ongoing discrimination. So themes we've really talked about a lot in this class. We've moved to providing disability services in Australia that are much more person-centred, that are rights-based as well in their approach. So that has come about through a lot of reports, activism such as the Everybody Counts campaign, and also the Productivity Commission, which had an inquiry into disability services. And this all fed in particularly to the NDIS as we see at the moment. Now, as you're doing the human rights subjects, many students at the same time as this, you'll be interested in the Convention of Rights of People with Disability. And so we can see here some of the key principles here that we shouldn't be having discrimination, participation, inclusion, equality of opportunity, things we've talked about throughout the class so far. In 2009, we also had this report, the Shutout report, which really looked at people's experience of inclusion or primarily exclusion related to disability. And you can see we often talk about writing submissions to government. They are important, these submissions, and they are actually used, as we can see here. What we found from that report, looking at that and how people experience disability in Australia, this people highlighted in the submissions the different kinds of experiences that they had. So it's really worth sort of looking at those and seeing which ones are what we think. And most people were talking about social inclusion and participation, so they weren't able to engage in those things. There was barriers in terms of using services. There's quite a big theme that came up there as well. People felt that their rights, 40% of people who submitted felt that their rights were not being met. There was issues with legislation, things like that. Income support, employment were also big themes, accommodation, support for carers, etc. So things like the built environment or having access to equipment, they're important issues, but you can see for people with a disability, these issues around social inclusion, being a part of the community, engaging with the community in a way that you want to and you deserve to, are still key issues. So this is not that long ago, guys. This is only 11 years ago. So we can see that these are big issues for us to consider when we're talking about disability service provision in Australia. So it really recommended this report, things like introducing measures to address discrimination, improving disability and support services, reforming how disability support is given, as well as increasing the social, economic and cultural participation of people with a disability, but also their families. We also had the Everybody Counts campaign earlier, back in 2011, and this was a really pivotal campaign in bringing about the NDIS. So the NDIS didn't come out of nowhere, it came out of years and years of campaigning. So a lot of people had a really good idea about what the NDIS should be and how it should work as well, and obviously that hasn't always panned out quite how we might have liked it to. So in 2011, we have this group called COAG, which is the Coalition of Australian Governments. So it's basically all the state governments come together and they agree on policy ideas, essentially. And they came together and they developed this national sort of strategy around disability, and it was a 10-year plan, and it was meant to connect the whole of life for people, and bring together, say, the health service with the child protection service, with housing services. All of these sorts of things were meant to be joined up. Of course, it didn't quite happen the way we might have liked it to happen, okay? You know, and it was meant to really bring all these things together, but change policies, make disability an important policy issue for government, provide a shared agenda as well. You can read here some of the purposes of the strategy. So they decided they would approach this strategy, the Australian government, this coalition of all the state governments, through things like community engagement, actually involving people with a disability. So this really aligns with critical disability theory really, really well. Providing a universal approach across the whole life, being person-centred, which is something we'll talk about a little bit later on in this part of the course, providing independent living and being interconnected. So again, that integration of all the different parts of government. Of course, when you bring in a policy like this, it brings in other policies, and it also brings in things like the Convention of the Rights of People with a Disability. So that's a really important consideration for us to have as well. And this led to areas of policy action, which was kind of exciting, actually. So, you know, these are all things that we've been talking about: people's right to access society, to be included in it, economic security, personal community support, education and learning, health and wellbeing. So these sound all pretty good, don't they? But what do they actually mean? Shall we have a little look at that? First of all, we were looking at accessible and inclusive communities. So increasing participation, accessibility, access, housing and transport and communication were really big there. So we talked about this idea of universal design, and this is a design approach where we remove barriers that exclude people with a disability, but it can also apply to other people. So if we're talking about universal design in terms of accessibility, we might be looking for people who use prams alongside people who are blind or use a wheelchair or any of these kinds of things. So you know, that just becomes the sort of standard then, is this universal design if we look at these policy changes. We can also look at rights, protection, justice and legislation. So, you know, that people have rights, that those rights should be upheld, and we should have awareness of these people's rights. We should remove barriers, exploitation, neglect. So we're looking at some very serious issues when we talk about rights in relation to disability here. But, you know, clearly this is needed if we go back to that survey submission findings. Economic security. So this is pretty important for people. People want to be able to have jobs. They want to pay their own way, have a direction in life. So we wanted to, through the national strategy, have increased access to things like employment, income support. So that's actually people getting paid a benefit from the government, disability support, pensions, etc., and also housing. So housing, you might find this if you're in a social work or human services degree. We will talk about housing a great deal over the next few years because it's a major issue in Australia right now. I don't need to tell lots of people paying rent that. Also personal and community support. So, you know, looking at how do people with a disability live within the community, how does the community embrace people with disability and their families. So that's quite an important concept, but it also links in with the NDIS really well in that it's meant to be person-centred, self-directed, all of these kinds of things that we've talked about. So learning as well is important. So we're talking here about education, so access to higher education, but also access to primary and secondary schooling as well. So we'd see that education is really important for the economy, but it's also important for people to be included in society as well. So reducing that disparity or exclusion of people with a disability, across the lifespan. So we can see that at the lifespan of you as a student as well. Also, health and wellbeing was considered by the national policy here that COAG put together. And just because we know that people with a disability often have poorer health outcomes, we were really concerned here that we would have people's health needs weren't being met and their mental health needs weren't being met, because we often have what we call comorbidity. So people might have a physical but also a mental disability, a psychiatric disability. So sometimes the two can occur together. We might ask, well, which one caused the other? We don't really know always, but they are exacerbated by each other. So the strategy is meant to end this year, and we'll see how people have been able to bring that policy about and where the policy goes from here. That's all the strategy. But I think we can all agree that probably not all of those milestones have been met. They are a work in action, and we will definitely need to continue this work. Now, just because such a strategy like this exists, it doesn't mean it will exist in the future. We still have to press upon governments the importance of this for people living with a disability and their families and friends, and for our wider community. So, that just because the strategy existed and has been acknowledged doesn't mean the fight stops here, is what I'm trying to say. There's still issues with people navigating all of these systems. So they might have been talked about, but we really need to look at those a little bit further.